So today is the 21st of June, 2022, and we have the wonderful Tina C from Arizona who is joining us today. She first came into OA in the early 90s and is here today to share her story of recovery with us. So Tina, you have got half an hour, and as per your instructions, Sue, if you could give Tina a 5-minute warning. Tina, off you go.
Wow, okay. That happened fast. Hello everyone. And yeah, it's me speaking today instead of doing tech. And I'm trying not to be nervous, but I know you're all friends. I came to this meeting in early February. Sorry, I'm still admitting people. If someone wants to take that over. I came to this meeting in February of 2021, and I remember because Rita was leading, and I just immediately loved her humor and her compassion, and I just thought, this is the meeting for me. And since that time, I've only missed it 2 or 3 times because I was on a plane or sick or traveling. And also, I've signed up for service and I'm here every week. So let me go back to, I'll start in childhood. I grew up in Huntington Beach, California, where Paul is now. And I was the oldest of 3 kids, or am the oldest of 3 kids. I have a brother and a sister, and my parents were married, but they hated each other and they fought all the time. And my dad was very critical. He also made a lot of comments about women's physical appearance all the time. And my sister and I both had troubles with that. Like, he would watch Benny Hill, and I don't know if you guys know Benny Hill, and Benny Hill's chasing the women around, and you have to be kind of old to know who that is. But anyway, so I always liked sugar. I used to get in trouble for trying to my mom had to put the cookies on top of the fridge, and I would still try to climb up there to get them. But I was a normal weight as a child, probably because my mom would hide the cookies on top of the fridge and I didn't have money to go get them myself. But when I was 12, I started babysitting and had my own money. And a lot of things happened when I was 12. That's when I really started eating a lot. I got breasts, and they were bigger. Excuse me, guys, but I'm going to talk about breasts. And it was scary. As a 12-year-old, I was still a little kid, really. And I had these breasts that caused men to leer at me and look at me in a way that made me feel really uncomfortable. And it was really scary. And and also at 12, let's see. I always had good grades up until 12. And my dad, like I said, was very critical. And at one point I brought him a report card that had all A's and 1 B in math. And a B in math was actually good for me because I am not good at math. And he was just the type, he wouldn't say anything positive, and he said, "Why'd you get that B?" And started getting mad at me about getting the B. And I remember something clicked in that moment. And I said, screw it. I'm not trying anymore. And I got my first F after that. And I was only punishing myself, but this is just how I responded to it at 12. And I started, from then on, I barely graduated from high school. I mean, I just really took it to a new level of like, fine, I'm not going to try anymore. And started eating. I had my 2 best friends when I was 12 go to a different school. So I was in junior high, what we called it junior high, now it's called middle school. And I didn't have my group. It's really hard to break into a new group in junior high. And so I didn't have any friends. They started hanging out with other people after school even. And so I remember one day sitting, I got a package of cookies. I sat in front of the TV. This was before Netflix. This was just the 3 channels pretty much. And, or 4. And I sat there and I said, oh, this is fun. This is what I'll do every day. And that's pretty much what I've done to deal with stress since that time, is watch TV and eat. And so I started gaining weight, and that didn't help, anything. I was also teased at school. I grew up a mile from the beach, and this I have pasty white Irish skin from my Irish grandmother, and I was teased a lot for being pale. I know, it's crazy, but because we had to wear shorts in PE, and they would always, and at that point there was no self tanners. There was a self tanner called QT, and it turns you orange and streaky. It wasn't good. So anyway, 12 was a rough time for me, and that's when I actively started using food as a coping mechanism. And I continued to do that. I babysat, and I had, would raid the fridge and the pantry when I was babysitting. And also had my money, so I could go to 7-Eleven and go buy food. And it was all sugary stuff and cakes and things like that. So I continued to do that. And in high school and beyond. And then I started dieting. And that was when the first diet I really went on when I was 16. And if I could weigh what I weighed when I started dieting, I would be very happy right now, because it really wasn't that bad. I used to have to ride my bike everywhere, so I think that helped. I'd ride my bike to school and everywhere, so I wasn't too overweight, but I thought I was really big. And so I started dieting, and then I never weighed that weight again, because I lost weight. And then, the roller coaster started. And so I went through, that's just when it started. And then, let's see, I went to OA for the first time when I was probably in my early to mid 20s. And, but I didn't get a sponsor. I went to the meetings and I listened and I believed what they were saying and I got it, but I didn't engage. I didn't talk to people. I didn't get a sponsor. I tried to do the steps myself with the OA workbook, and didn't really work. And then I left, and I would still try to diet. And then so that was off and on. And then mostly off. And then when I went to, sorry, I'm blanking. So yeah, I was like the chubby friend who I always had like really pretty friends, and I would be like the chubby sidekick and be funny and just kind of be the wingman. And I didn't date very much. I didn't have people really wanting to date me until there were periods when I lost weight, and then I would look fairly decent, and I would go out and go to dancing. I love dancing and have a good time, and then I'd invariably gain the weight back. And so then I did finally get married and have kids, and I thought, like a lot of people probably thought, that when I got these things that I wanted, getting married, having kids, having a house, then I'd be so deliriously happy I wouldn't need to eat. And that did not happen. I got to my highest weight after getting married and having kids, and I have a great husband. It was a little rocky at first, but it's great now. And I have 2 kids. I have 2 boys, 16 and 20. But let me back up. I with my second pregnancy, after I had my son, I had some complications where I had to go back in the hospital for 4 days. And then I got out. My house caught on fire a week after that. There was a lot of things going on. And I believe that's what activated the celiac gene that I had, that I didn't realize I had, but I got it from both my parents. So, and about 15 years ago, I started getting hives all over my body, and my face would swell up, and I didn't know what was causing it. And doctors didn't either. And they put me on a bunch of different medications, but I'd have to go to the hospital because it would get so bad. I mean, I'd get hives the size of plates. And so they just put me on a ton of medication. It got so bad that I'd quit my job. And I thought maybe I was dying and something horrible was happening and they weren't finding it. So I decided, still with food, I'm going to do a detox and get all whatever this toxin is out, and I'm sure that's the thing. So I did this detox of like vegetables and chicken, I think, and it did get better. And then my husband brought home some pizza or something like that, and I thought, well, it's probably not that. I could probably have pizza. So I had the pizza, and then 3 or 4 hours later, because it didn't happen instantly, it would happen a few hours later, I got the hives again. And then I did the detox again. And then next time I think he brought some bread home, and oh, well, I could probably have that. And it happened again. And that's when I realized, then I did my own research and then got the testing to follow up that I have celiac disease, which is where you can't have gluten. And so my body was really responding, but it didn't happen until after I was 40. I was fine eating gluten before that. But trauma and different things like that can, if you know what epigenetics is, you can have the gene for something and it can lie dormant, and then something can trigger it. And once it's open, it's open. So after that affected my food, because I felt so sorry for myself that I couldn't eat gluten, that I ate a bunch of things that were gluten-free, because you can still really eat crappy and be gluten-free. And over the years, I've had issues, not just with gluten. My body kind of just really changed when I was 40, and I had to, I can't have, my body reacts to dairy, gluten, corn, eggs, coconut. I think there's something else, but I can't remember. And so for a long time, that made me feel like, well, the things that I can eat, pour me something that I can eat that's gluten-free, corn-free, dairy-free, all those things. You can still find it. And if I couldn't find it, I would bake it and figure it out. So I was still eating a lot. But let's get to the more recent. In 2019, I was going to Ireland for like a second honeymoon, because my husband and I got married after we had 2 kids. Both our kids were at our wedding. And so we had little kids, so we couldn't take a honeymoon. So we finally had enough money to we're going to go to Ireland, the Wild Atlantic Way. And that was in 2019. So I wanted to lose weight, because I've spent my whole life trying to lose weight for every function, for every birthday, for every family visit. And my mom is still doing that. She's almost 80. And I did watch her diet throughout my whole life. She lives with us, and our kids, will want to offer her something and ask, like, is grandma eating carbs this week? Because we don't know, because she goes to different diets all the time. So I did this thing called Healthy Wage, and it's where you, and I don't recommend it, but I want to tell you about it because this is so crazy. I thought, I'll lose weight if there's this program, you bet money that you're going to lose weight, and it's an online thing. And if you don't lose the weight, obviously they keep the money. If you do lose the weight, they give you money. So I thought this was a brilliant plan to go to Ireland. I'll lose 30 pounds and I'll do it through this program, and I'll be so motivated because I'm paying them $1,200. They're going to give me $2,000 so that, and then I can use that money in Ireland. It's a perfect plan, right? Guess what happened? It's a good business idea because they make a ton of money. So my body, because I've gone up and down and up and down, I can do like be practically starving and exercising, and I will still only lose 2 or 3 pounds a month. And even though I tried really hard, I didn't make it. So I lost $1,200, but I would have had $2,000. I did lose 25 pounds. Like I almost made it. And, but it was just white knuckling. I wasn't in OA at that point. And I went to Ireland. That was in the fall of 2019. And then the pandemic happened. So I spent the pandemic, as I do, eating and watching TV. And I was working from home, so no one could see, what was happening. And I was wearing sweats every day, so I didn't have to worry that I wasn't fitting into my clothes. So I gained all that weight back plus more, and I got to my highest weight ever. Oh, and here, I'll give you guys the pictures now. Let's see. Okay, can you see that? Yeah. Okay. So this on the left is me. I didn't have any pictures of how big I was because I wasn't taking pictures, but I did go visit my best friend, and her husband took a picture, which I wouldn't have I didn't even know they were taking it, but I'm glad she did now because look, and I wanted her in there so you can see the contrast. And she's tiny. And I can't even believe I was wearing a sleeveless shirt, but anyway, that's October of 2020. And then the picture below that of my face, that is in January of 2021, 2 weeks before I got abstinent. And that is my face, obviously. I took that still from a video I was sending to my nephew, who's 5, who I hadn't seen in a while, and I didn't want him to forget me. Otherwise, I wouldn't been taking a picture of my face at that point. But I look miserable. You can see my roots. I had just given up completely at that point. I was desperate. I felt I was bigger than I'd ever been. I felt like there was no hope, and there was all the things happening, with the pandemic and everything. So that was depressing. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I do have a problem with depression. I was suicidal when I was 19, and luckily I didn't do it. And I do take medication, and it's literally saved my life. And I've been to therapy, and I'm a social worker who does therapy also as well. But I find that if I don't manage my depression, it really affects my recovery. And then this is me. I took this picture yesterday, or my son took it yesterday for me. But still, even though I'm thinner now, I still focus on my middle because I would like that to be smaller. And I have an apple shape. You see, I have these skinny legs, but I gain it all in the middle. And so there are my pictures. Anyway, so I end up looking bigger than what my weight is because it's all concentrated around my middle. I had a friend once say my figure was like a potato on toothpicks. And I think that is true. But anyway, so I came to OA in 2022 in early February. I literally was desperate, and it was the first time in OA that I really I had been in and out of OA. I had tried it 6 years before here, and I'd had a sponsor, and I did the steps, and I did lose some weight, but I didn't really get it until 2021. And now I have about 16 months abstinent. I was counting every day at the beginning, but now it's more normal. I So it was the big book that really made the difference this time. And desperation. And the Zoom meetings. I went to the Zoom meetings. I live in a small town where there was one meeting a week, and it was like the same people, and there wasn't a lot of recovery, a lot of complaining about work and things like that. So when I got on the Zoom meetings, it was a revelation. And like I said, I came in, and the biggest impact, the biggest meeting had the biggest impact now that Rita's here is Rita's meeting. I came on, and Rita was so funny, but compassionate at the same time, and clearly had recovery. And I was sold. And I have been to this meeting every week since February 2021, except for 2 or 3 times when I was traveling, like I said. And then I signed up and do service. But what changed this time is it did the big book. I had never cracked open the big book. I owned it for years, but I opened it up and I actually read it, and it just, boom, I got it in a way that I'd never gotten it before. That I can't have sugar. I can't, there's the alcoholic foods, things that I can't eat. That if I eat, one is never enough, and 1,000 is, no, wait, one is too much, 1,000 is never enough. Yeah. And but reading the big book has changed my life. Getting a sponsor, I really was willing to do anything the sponsor said. I did meetings every day, 90 and 90, but then I kept doing that meetings every day. And that made a huge difference. And I want to tell you guys, the newcomers, the beginning, it might look like there's just a bunch of strangers here, but you keep going to the same meetings, you will meet people, you will get to know them, you will see their friendly faces over and over again. And it might feel like a bunch of, it's a lot of information at first. It's very overwhelming, but you keep coming and you'll start to integrate it, and you'll start to understand it, and you'll start to live it. But you got to keep coming. Let's see. So what made the difference is service, doing the steps with a sponsor. I've tried to do them without, it doesn't work. And speaking at meetings, which is scary. I can't believe that I'm speaking at this meeting because, like I said, I showed that picture. That's where I was, and I would never ever have believed that I would be speaking at this meeting, and that it had worked for me. So it doesn't matter what your brain tells you. You don't have to believe everything you think. Just do the actions. Do the actions that you're told. Do what other people tell you to do, unless it feels like, I mean, OA people, OA fellows can also, if the sponsor doesn't feel right for you, and listen to your intuition and get a different sponsor. But go to meetings, read the big book, get a food plan. I tried to do this, like dieting. I can't eat sugar. I can't eat sugar. I can't even eat a little sugar. I won't even eat a processed thing that has sugar 5th and below. I just don't want to awaken the beast. I don't want to awaken the monster. And so my kids know that now. They also know that when they were younger, I used to eat like their Halloween candy. And I had my boys at one point, just a few years ago, there was some ice cream bars in the fridge where it'd be like a 4-pack that's which is like one serving, if that. And I ate all of them, and I thought I would have enough time to get to the store to replace them before they noticed, but I didn't. And they were in the kitchen, and they started blaming the other one for eating all of them. And I sat there and I listened, and I didn't say anything. And I hoped that they would just quit arguing, and that it would be okay, and then they wouldn't know. But eventually they were starting to really get mad at each other. And I finally had to say from the other room, I ate them, and confess. But I was going to let them, they're arguing, and let them think the other one ate it, because I didn't want them to know that I ate all. But that's what I used to do, is hide food in my dresser drawer, hide food, do the classic mom thing, buy Halloween candy, then eat it all, then have to buy it again, then eat it all, then have to buy it again, and then finally go and buy it like right before, the trick-or-treaters are coming, so I wouldn't eat it all. But even with all my food issues, I was able to eat a lot. Now I eat 3 meals a day, and I have no sugar and all the other things I can't eat, no corn. And by the way, food intolerances can affect your mood. When I eat corn, and it took me years to figure this out, I get really depressed and fatigued. And I'm talking like cornstarch, corn
5
syrup.
minutes left.
Okay, thank you. And it took me a really long time to figure that out. So uh, food can literally kill me if I eat the wrong things. But now through the grace of God and this program and my spiritual relationship with my higher power, and I've been given abstinence, and I make cookies, I make cakes, I made my husband a pie for Father's Day, and I'm fine. And one of my friends said, "How can you do that? How can you handle the smell?" And it's like I still like go, "Oh, I used to eat that," and like think of some foods longingly, but it's like I took a trip, and I went to this beautiful place. At times, it was beautiful. I mean, the positive memories of the food. Oh, I used to eat this and that, it was great, but I don't go to that place anymore. That place is some place that maybe sometimes I can sit there and go, yeah, that was good when I used to be able to eat these things. That was fun. But then I remember that it wasn't fun. It was horrendous. And maybe there was a brief minute that was that I felt like, little nirvana, but the rest of it was horrible. And I have to go to meetings. I have to read the bib book. I read the bib book every night. Now I'm reading the stories. I read one story every night. I have to go to meetings and remember, because your brain will forget. It's like an old boyfriend, that you break up with, and you forget all the bad times, and you only think about the good times, and then you get back together, and then it may be great at first, but then you start to remember all the horrible reasons why you broke up. And so you got to write down all the horrible ways you're feeling so that you can read it and remember it. Because it's a sneaky disease, and it'll get back in there. And my recovery is the most important thing in the world to me now. And I do service, so I can't slink away and just, I have to show up to these meetings, because there's still that part of that disease that wants to slink away and go back. But I have to be vigilant, and because it's well worth it. I don't miss the food. I'm way happier now without the food. The food was not making me happy. It was making me miserable. So thank you everyone for hearing my talk. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Oh, Tina, thank you so much. That was phenomenal.